Hey everyone, ready to talk about saving some serious cash? We're diving into some really cool money saving strategies today. Like imagine this, you could have an extra $50,000 saved up in just 1 year.
It's true. And that's what the author of the material we're looking at actually did. We'll break it all down, don't worry.
Amazing. So no extreme budgeting makeovers then.
No way. This is all about finding those sustainable habits, those little things you can actually stick with. Anyone can do this.
Okay, I'm all ears. What's this magic source material we're talking about?
All right, so we're looking at how I save $50,000 in 1 year with simple budgeting hacks. Really practical, really down-to-earth tips.
Sounds right up my alley. So first step on this journey to saving like a pro.
It all starts with, well, knowing where your money goes. The author really stresses this, tracking every single dollar.
I feel like this is where a lot of us might have an oh no moment.
Right, think about it. Those daily coffees, those little impulse buys, it all adds up. We call it invisible spending. The source recommends doing a 30-day spending audit.
So like actually writing everything down, even if it's just a couple of bucks.
Yep, every penny. But don't worry, you don't need to go crazy with spreadsheets or anything. There are tons of apps for that. But really, just seeing where your money is going can be a huge shift. Makes it so much easier to figure out where you can cut back without feeling like you're missing out.
It's like you said, making those unconscious spending choices. Well, conscious. But awareness is just the start, right? Then it's time to make a plan, set some goals.
Exactly. And think big. The author wanted to save $50,000 in a year.
Whoa, right. But they broke it down, made it about $1,000 a week.
Makes it feel a lot less intimidating that way, for sure.
Totally. And here's a great tip from the source. Automate your savings. Set up a system where that $1,000 goes straight into a high-yield savings account each week. You won't even miss it.
Hold on, high yield? Break that down for me. I'm no finance whiz.
Basically, it just means you earn a higher interest rate than your average savings account. Helps your money grow faster without you even lifting a finger. So it's not just about saving, it's about making sure those savings are actually, well, saving. Okay, I'm with you. Tracking, setting goals, automating. What else does this financial guru recommend?
Now we're getting into budgeting frameworks. Have you heard of the 50-30-20 rule?
Yeah, I think so. It's all about splitting your income into different categories.
Right. 50% goes to your needs, the essentials like rent and groceries, then 30% for your wants, the fun stuff, and that last 20%. That's all for savings and paying down debt.
Makes sense. But honestly, sticking to those percentages seems like a challenge. Did the source author actually follow this to the letter?
They did, but here's where it gets cool. They actually switched things up a bit with the wants and savings categories. Instead of the usual 30% for fun and 20% for saving, they flipped it. They only allocated 10% for wants and a full 30% for savings.
Wow, they cut their wants spending in half. That's hardcore. Did they say how they did it? Like, did they have to make big sacrifices?
That's the thing. They said they barely even noticed the difference after a few weeks. They were still going out, having fun, but they just became way more mindful of their spending.
So it's not about cutting out all the fun. It's about being thoughtful, right? Making sure your spending aligns with what you really value. Okay, but what about debt? That's a big one for a lot of us.
Yeah, debt can really hold you back from reaching those savings goals. The author of our source really emphasizes tackling high-interest debt, ASAP. They actually use something called the snowball method. Have you heard of that?
I think so. It's where you list out all your debts, smallest to largest, no matter the interest rate.
Right.
Then you focus on knocking out the smallest one first.
You got it. Once that first debt is gone, you take what you were paying and roll it right into the next one on your list.
Yeah.
Like a snowball, getting bigger and picking up speed as it goes.
Right, right. I like that visual. It's like those little wins keep you motivated to keep going.
That's the idea. The author also mentioned using balance transfer offers, which is pretty savvy. Like, say you've got a credit card with a crazy high interest rate. You can transfer that balance to a card with a lower rate, maybe even 0% for a while. Saves a ton on interest charges, so you can pay down the actual debt faster.
Smart. Okay, that makes sense. But what about those bigger expenses, those fixed costs? Rent, utilities, transportation? Those can be tough to budge.
You're right, those big expenses can feel kind of overwhelming. But even with those, the author managed to find ways to cut back. For example, with rent, they simply negotiated a lower monthly rate. They just offered to sign a longer lease, like 18 months instead of 12, and it worked. Saved them $150 a month.
Well, hold up. You can actually negotiate rent. I always thought that was just set in stone. See, I'm already learning stuff. But utilities are a pain too. Those always seem to be going up no matter what you do.
Definitely. The author is big on energy efficiency to combat that, switching to energy-efficient appliances, using a programmable thermostat. Even those LED light bulbs can add up. And hey, never be afraid to negotiate with your utility companies directly. They often have discounts and plans you might not even know about.
I actually did switch to LED light bulbs recently. Didn't think it would make much difference, but I was pleasantly surprised by how much it lowered my energy bill. Little things, right. Okay, but let's talk transportation. That's a huge one, especially these days. What did the source do about that?
They actually got rid of their car. They went all in on public transit, biking, and joined a car-sharing service for those odd times when they absolutely needed a car.
Wow, that's commitment. I'm not sure I'm ready to give up my car just yet, but I've been thinking about trying to use public transportation more often. Even just a couple of times a week would probably make a difference.
Absolutely. Every bit counts. It's all about finding those little swaps you can make that fit your life. And remember, that's less money on gas, parking, all that. But hold on, we haven't even gotten to the fun part yet.
Oh, the fun part. I like the sound of that. What other tricks does this savings superstar have up their sleeve?
So far, we've talked about cutting back, being more mindful. But the author didn't stop there. They also found creative ways to actually make more money with, wait for it, side hustles.
Side hustles. Everyone's going these days, right? There are so many options, though. It can be hard to know where to even begin. Did they talk about finding the right side hustle for you?
They did. They said the key is to choose something that aligns with what you're already good at, something you enjoy. For example, the author was really into graphic design, so they started freelancing.
So they were able to use their passion and turn it into another income stream. That's amazing. Any other side hustles they tried?
They also did some food delivery, which makes sense. It's flexible. You can set your own hours. And they said they made some decent cash, especially with those late-night deliveries.
I love that there are so many options out there now with the gig economy. You can really find something that fits your schedule and your interests.
Exactly. It's all about finding what works for you. And, hey, that extra cash from a side hustle, straight into your savings.
All right, back for the final stretch of our deep dive into how I saved $50,000 in 1 year with simple budgeting hacks. I gotta say, I'm feeling pretty inspired right now.
Right. It's amazing what you can achieve with a solid plan.
Right. It's not just about the money either, is it? It's about taking control and making smart choices.
Exactly. Building those habits that set you up for success. But hey, before we wrap up, we got to talk about those savings. How do we make that money work even harder? The source had some interesting stuff about cashback rewards, didn't they?
They did, like really maximizing those programs. The author used a cashback credit card for pretty much everything, groceries, gas. But they made sure to pay it off in full every month, so no interest charges.
Smart. It's about using those systems to your advantage, not going overboard and ending up spending more.
Yeah.
Just to get the rewards.
Right, gotta stay disciplined. They also mentioned using those online shopping apps, Rakuten, Honey, those ones that find coupons and give you cash back automatically.
Oh, I love those.
Yeah.
It's like free money, especially if you're already planning to buy something anyway.
Exactly. Okay, but let's be honest. Sometimes even with rewards, those little impulse purchases, those wants, can sneak up on you. Did the source talk about that?
They did, and it kind of circles back to that mindfulness idea. One thing the author was really into was meal prepping, spending a few hours each week to plan meals, cook a bunch of stuff, portion it out.
Smart. That's hitting like 3 birds with 1 stone, saves money on groceries, cuts down on food waste, and helps you avoid those last-minute takeout temptations. Did they have any other grocery shopping tips?
Oh yeah, they were all about those rebate apps. You know, the ones where you scan your receipt and get cash back for certain things. Small amounts, but hey, every little bit adds up.
It all comes down to being more intentional, doesn't it? Whether it's tracking your spending, making a meal plan, or finding those little reward hacks.
Love that. It's not about depriving yourself. It's about being smart with your money, making it work for you.
Well said. Well, as we wrap up our deep dive here, what's the one thing you hope our listeners take away from all this?
You know, the author's story really shows that you don't need some crazy windfall or a complete life overhaul to save a significant amount of money. It's about consistency, those small changes you can actually stick with over time. That's where the magic happens.
Couldn't agree more. It's like any goal, really. Takes effort, dedication. But imagine this. A year from now, you could have an extra $50,000 saved. That's powerful.
Right. So here's something to think about. What really resonated with you today? What's one small step, just one, that you can take this week to get started?
Love that. We'll leave you with that food for thought. Thanks for joining us for another deep dive. Happy saving, everyone!